Okay, you guys, so I am loving this Victorian vintage home decor style that's making its way back into the scene. Mostly because I grew up watching old movies. Like, and when I say old, I don't mean like movies from the 70s. I mean movies from like the 30s, 40s, and the 50s. I'm pretty sure that once we hit the 60s, my grandma stopped letting us watch shows because they started to become a little bit more provocative. But I just am obsessed with kind of that older era, that older type of feel. And honestly, like, they're just wholesome and good and funny. And I feel like there was a lot of like talent and thought that went into those shows. Not that there isn't nowadays by any means, but anyway, so as I am like starting to design our front room, it's kind of an awkward area. It's really big, and I just haven't really known what exactly I've wanted to do there. And so I finally got some inspiration, actually, from a hotel that I was looking at for when we go to Paris in May. And anyway, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with this hotel, and I want to design my front room after this hotel. That's where the inspiration came from. And I kept debating, like, do I want to do a wallpaper? Do I want to just like paint a wall? So let me just kind of explain. I'll have to share like pictures too later, but let me just kind of explain what our front room looks like. So you walk in, and immediately off to your left-hand side, there's this just big open room. And gosh, I put a lot of blush on there. Anyway, the walls are all white, and like the wall, so if you walk in, you look to the left, like the wall that's like facing you, basically, like, guys, I'm horrible with terms. That wall it has some paneling on it, so there is a little like texture in that room. And then there is a window like looking into the house. But outside of that, that's it. It's pretty plain, and we do have like a light wood floors. And so I feel like because we have taller ceilings and we have a lot of white, that I could bring in more of those deeper tones, but I didn't necessarily want to go like totally black. So that's why I was like, oh, this wallpaper is really pretty because it brings in some depth, but it also has those warmer tones still, which I love. Obviously, if you guys have seen my feed, like I'm obsessed with those types of colors. So in my head, I'm like, okay, this is gonna look really pretty. My problem with designing a room is I have a hard time mixing patterns sometimes. Like, I'm very visual. Like, I need to like see them actually together, like in the room. I'm kind of the queen of returning stuff I buy online for our house, or buying something and then changing my mind. And my husband, rightfully so, gets kind of annoyed with it. But it's just hard, like when you're not, designing your own, like designing spaces all the time. And also there's this like commitment of like, okay, I've got to like stick with this for a really long time, so I need to make sure I love it. And so if I can't see it together, sometimes it's really hard for me to like commit or make that decision. So I may or may not have already like bought 2 different sets of accent chairs for our house that are currently in our house, but I don't love. So I feel like that what happens is when I start designing, I just like start overthinking, and then I get paralyzed. And then I just decide like, I'm just not even gonna do anything because I don't wanna buy something I don't love and then have to go through the hassle of returning it, because returning furniture online is no joke. And most of the time they charge you a restocking fee, right? So I don't know, I just have commitment issues. But I also don't know, like, we live in a small town, and so just don't have access to like a lot of designers that are kind of up my style or alley. I know designers can do like all sorts of different styles, but I feel like they always kind of carry their own personal theme into design a lot of the time, right? Anyway, and my other problem is, this is the real problem. So I'm very much a perfectionist, if you haven't noticed, and I actually really love designing. I love putting things together. I just get paralyzed when I'm doing it for my own space. But my other problem is I will create what I want in my head first, and then I have to try and go out and find it. And that always seems to be the most difficult thing, because I'm literally designing with things that don't even exist in the world. And you guys, I have issues with this, okay? I do this with clothes all the time too. I design something in my head, and then I try and go and shop, and I end up spending way too much time shopping online, trying to find something I've designed in my head that doesn't actually exist. And then I get frustrated because, of course, I can't find the thing that I want to exist. And then I'm like, I just need to design my own clothes. I just need to design my own furniture, because I already have this idea of exactly what I want, and I can't find it anywhere. Every time I start filming another clip, I completely forgot what I was even talking about. This is why I can't like tell a story and film makeup. Like I know that's all the rage over on TikTok, but I can't stay focused or like forget. Like I get so distracted in what I'm actually doing with my makeup that I'm like, oh yeah, where was I? And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, this girl. Look, I'm doing it right now. Anyway, needless to say, I am definitely a creator, designer at heart, but I don't have the capability to just go out and just design whatever the heck I want. By the way, this is a really pretty demi shade. This is RV3. I love it for the eyes or like a blush color. If you have a lot of like yellow and green in your skin, it's really pretty and you're more on the fair side. Okay, let me see, I can talk about makeup all day long while I'm filming and not lose my train of thought, but I can't do it when I'm not trying to tell an actual story. Okay, one thing I like to do when I use a cream as a base is I will just take an eyeshadow and kind of set it, and it keeps it in place all day. I'm wearing a skirt right now and it has pink on it, and I think this will be fun to kind of pull the pink in from the skirt, this eyeshadow. Adding some faux freckles just because I can. But anyway, back to designing my front room. I'm not sure what I'm gonna end up going with, but I really appreciate all of your opinions. It's really helpful to like see other people's perspectives or see what people think of that maybe you don't think of. So anyway, I'm all ready for church. Did a foundation free look today, and I love it. I love it when I don't want to like cover everything up.